I grew up at a time when all I wanted to do was play sport. And, and I only played against the boys. There was only one other friend in the neighborhood that got chosen to play. And I played every sport there was. It's seasonal. Football was my favorite sport because I grew up in Lansing, Michigan, and I wanted to play football for Duffy Doherty at Michigan State. That's what I grew up knowing. And you can go through, ice hockey on the swamp behind us. We played basketball and we shoveled off the driveway. And we went across the street to play baseball at the grade school field. And there'd be 4 to 6 of us, and you know what? You just figure out how to play a game. But there was no organized sport for women. And when I got into about junior high, that awkward age called teenager, I was no longer so welcome with the boys. First of all, I was kicking their ass, I believe. But it just wasn't cool anymore. And then my brothers, I had 3 brothers, went on, and they got to play organized sport at the junior high level, at the high school level. And my mom told me, honey, girls don't play sports. And I thought, well, then, one, what's wrong with me? And I thought, there's something wrong with me. And 2, why not? Why don't we get to play? And so that was my trajectory. And in high school, it was my senior year. I went to Lansing Everett. And perhaps you know another famous person from Lansing Everett named Magic Johnson, who I taught how to shoot a basketball. But it was my senior year when the MHSAA decided they would have a girls' high school basketball tournament. And our little club after-school friendlies became a varsity sport. We got real uniforms. We got a bus to the games. We got to practice kind of, sort of at a normal time. But they put the season in the fall. And they said, we're going to put the girls' season in the fall so they stay out of the way of the boys. And I read that in the Lansing State Journal. Therefore, back then, it was, all news was true. So I went on and played at Michigan State. And come to find out, years later, we were never really considered varsity. Who knew? I thought we were varsity because we had uniforms and we had a schedule. And we got $5 a day per diem to eat. And, of course, McDonald's was our only meal because what else could we afford? But we got to travel around and play. Nobody got scholarships. And along came Irvin. He's a couple years behind me, and full ride. And the difference in our trajectory was just night and day. And the opportunities they had. But this is back in the 70s when it was normal. Even I thought, well, women aren't as important. We're not as important. But then I got a little salty and decided, and it was my senior year in college, when Title IX had come along. And I speak on Title IX a lot, so I will keep this a little brief. But people talk about Title IX and the opportunities it created in sport. Let me just say that it's an educational amendment that doesn't have one word of sport. It's about education, and what it did was create opportunities for women, because women were less than 30% of college campuses. They were less than 10% of college faculty. They were less than 5% of professional schools, STEM schools. And today at Michigan, we are now 54% of the student body. And you can go on and on about the reason there's so many women in this business opportunity lecture. But it also created where the greatest disparities were in the educational part of athletics, because I'm a true old school, I'm just a teacher and an educator, and we grow our kids up in our classroom, which is, of course, at Alumni Field or whatever venue we all have had. So we sued Michigan State University my senior year. I was on the basketball team as well as the softball team, and we won that case. It was with a Jean King, who was a local lawyer who was just starting out in her Title IX pursuits. And she walked into that courtroom up in Grand Rapids, and it was a done deal in about an hour. She was so compelling with the disparities. And it was a landmark case, which, unfortunately, the only way you can really, really create social change is through the courts. And it took a lot of brave women, not just in my sphere at Michigan State, but around the country. And a lot of women who were just getting started in their athletic careers or their coaching careers lost their jobs. Because universities get really pissed off when you sue them, and they found reasons to get rid of you. So it's been a consistent and continual fight for vigilance and for equity. And we have come so far, and I can tell you that it's not equitable yet. But we keep moving along, but I can tell you one thing, and Danielle can just speak to it probably everybody else here. But the men keep shooting further ahead, and hopefully we can have some great discussion and even discourse on that subject today. So I will turn it back over to Danielle and look forward to listening.